Karahullah, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Brakate Yahweh, Brakate Yahweh Shai, Brakate Yahweh, Brakate Yahweh Shai, Brakate Yahweh, Brakate Yahweh Shai, the Wada, Abba, Karl Kadash. I will give double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone that have taught this truth, which I believe through the Holy Spirit is 100% truth. Just want to do a lesson today. I guess it's a part two to the lesson I did yesterday. And the title of this lesson is called Mission Accomplished. I came up with that title through the Spirit. And the reason I say that because we know that we are Israelites, these so-called Black, Hispanics, or Native Americans, and that we are in a war and we are being oppressed by our oppressors who are in Babylon the Great, our Esau Edom. And this goes all the way back to being, as I said in the other video, this goes all the way back to being in the Garden of Eden. And he has a perpetual hatred against us because we are the Lord's chosen people, and the Lord has chosen us, Not to mention that he also sold his birthright to our forefather, Jacob. So I'm going to start off in Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. I'm kind of going through the spirit in this, and we try to line these prophecies up with what's going on in the world today, because it's a lot that's going on, and we have to correlate that and see and mesh it with the scriptures. Man, it shows that what the Lord said was going to happen. It's happening. Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, that write grievousness which they have prescribed. And so part of the problems that's going on, especially with the women of our nation and our nation as a whole, is the prescription that this devil has wrote for our people. First of all, after we were so-called something released from slavery, they had it so that our people, they try to force us into assimilation into their system. And, we had our own communities and all that. We were flourishing after slavery, and so they came in and saw that we were doing so good that he's all about destroying our nation, man. He's about death, and that's not only our nation but any nation. So he started creating unrighteous decrees. They came through with the thing in the 60s. They used Martin Luther King to integrate us, so-called integrate us mesh us into their society, and took us away from our values and the things that we used to hold dear. Those things we no longer do because we take on the ways of the heathen. We covet the ways of the heathen now. And the core things that we went by, the core values, Eve found a way to get to work his way in there, being that serpent again, and forced our women to follow those decrees that he had by offering her housing, offering her food stamp benefits, food, free housing, free food, and these things, providing that she separate herself and her family from her man. Those had to be the requirements for her to receive these housing. And he knew, and this how this devil thinks. You got to realize he's playing chess. So he set up the way that where he forced Jacob into these cities, to these rural areas, to these city areas, from out of these from the slave plantation. Then he got them up there, got them working. Then he shut down all the factories and sent them to other places overseas. So Jake is set up here in these places, in these congregating these communities, and there's no work for Jake, because you got to realize we no longer working for ourselves now, because we've been into that false narrative that we can assimilate into this society and we're going to be treated as equals. But Jake found himself, in a position where he had no housing, no jobs, in order to wait for his family is going to be able to eat. his wife is going to have to submit to the system. Eve, she's always got along with the serpent, and so she took the gifts that were given. And that's going back from the 60s, so 60s and the 70s. And then on top of that, he started working and putting out women to sending them off to go into colleges to seek higher education so that she can make enough money and put that mindset of feminism into our women, which we all understand that was CIA orchestrated, man. These are things that social engineered to break up the Israelite family. So Isaiah 10, chapter 1. Isaiah 10, chapter 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, that write grievousness which they have prescribed. Then we go down to verse 2. This through the Holy Spirit. They turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, that they may rob the fatherless. So they found a way to break up the home. The man is supposed to be the protection of the family. By removing the man, he left them for easy prey, man. Eve fell for the trick, and she took the bag, I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 31, verse 1. Isaiah chapter 31, verse 1. I'm just kind of pretty much roll through these precepts. I have quite a few precepts I want to go through. Not make this thing too long, I'm going to elaborate a little bit along in the lesson just to kind of bring edification. But this just goes to show you, Lord had already knew what was going to happen. He put it in Esau Edom to do this to our people. Isaiah chapter 31, verse 1. Woe unto them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses, and trust in chariots, because there are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek ye the Lord. And you have the prophets out here, pushing this truth, and this truth of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. First of all, we try to warn our people and tell them who they are, and most jakes don't want to hear it. And then the ones that do hear it, you can't tell them that we're in a war right now, because they don't believe that we have an enemy. Jake look at each other as being the enemy, but not realizing Jake has been set up, social engineered, to look at his brother as his enemy. And the whole time, this devil is pulling strings, behind the curtain, man. He's setting all this up to help destroy our nation and break up our families. The families is what's create the nations, man. Once you take that core away, he has a strong understanding of that, because he does a diligent search. Once you break up the family, you're going to produce a weaker product. And that's what we have today, man. These young men that are very feminized, and that's through part of their agenda. And then the women who become harlots and over masculine. All these things has been engineered by our enemy. And who's the enemy? Esau Edom, man. That's our number one enemy. Mostly all the other nations, they are our enemies also, but Esau Edom is the main enemy that oppresses our people and working diligently to destroy our people. Go to Revelation chapter 18, verse 3. Before we go to that, let me go to Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. And then we're going to roll to Revelations 18 and 3. Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And who is Babylon, man? Today, the modern day Babylon is here in Americas, man. That's modern day Babylon. And we're talking about the wine in her cup. That's her philosophies, these legislations that they push on our people, man. And our people, mainly our women, you know, they fall after the ways of Babylon. You know, they want to be so indoctrinated to the system that yet they don't see it, or do not have the vision, the vision to be able to see that's their destruction, man. It's leading them to a slaughterhouse. I'll repeat that again. Babylon, Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken in her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And mainly our nation, man, the nation of Israel. So we've definitely drunk the cup of Babylon. But until that truth came out, you know, when the Lord brought this truth out, He's starting to reveal who our enemy is, and who and all his devices, man, is starting to be revealed, man. And that's what we're here supposed to do, the prophecy unto our people, that they don't not fall into these stumbling blocks, or these snares that's been set for our people. Welfare was a snare, man. That was definitely a stumbling block and a snare to our people. It broke up the families. Sending our women, you know, forcing our women off to schools, to these higher education, thinking that she's going to get a bag and be assimilated in the system, that she's going to neglect her family because she's more focused on a career. Those are part of drinking that wine of Babylon, man, that cup. And therefore, you got what we call a new invention on the earth, which they created, called the modern day women. And you know, you see a lot of back and forth on YouTubes and a lot of social media sites, man, where, you know, the women are going against the men of our nation. You know, the women are putting themselves in a higher position where they feel they don't need a man, and they can raise a child without a man. And all these things go against what the Lord had prescribed, man. But yet they go with the things that Edom has prescribed, and now we see where we're at. And we see the condition of our nation that is in, man. You go to mostly black-run neighborhoods that run by single-family homes, where the mother's running the household, and she has her kids, and the conditions are horrible, man. I grew up in one of those communities, man, where project communities where nothing but baby mothers, man, and no fathers in those communities, man, and the devastation that it did on the children that came out of it, you know. And you think about that's going on for 2 or 3 or 4 generations now, and now you see what you got. You got what you got, like in Chicago, O Block, Cabrini, what they call Cabrini Greens, that used to be up there. What's the one down in New Orleans? And that's just all. Those are just a few of the projects, man. These experiments that they put our people in, because they knew what the outcome was going to be, man. You're going to have kids that's going to be unruly. You're going to have you're going to produce a product, man, that's not beneficial to our community, that's not beneficial to our growth. So you got this this epidemic of single motherhood now, where women are having these kids out of wedlock, and they don't have a father. They don't have a hedge of protection there. And you're talking about 3 or 4 generations of not having men. So you got over feminized young men that's being brought up, and you see how that's going to turn into. You know, they're going to be fed. They're going to be coaxed, you know, in that wine of Babylon into these gang communities, which they seek as a family, you know. And you know, the outcome of that, either they're going to be in jail or locked up in prison. And then they're constantly pushing that thought, you know, culture on our women, where they can be thoughts, you know, go out in and sleep with all type of men, and then next thing you know, they're pregnant with a whole bunch of kids, and they don't have a father to be over those kids. So those are the things that's been pushed by Babylon the Great on our people. And these, like I said, those things destroyed our families, broke up the homes, and you break up the nation. So that was Isaiah chapter 51, verse 7. We'll read over that again. Babylon hath been the golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken her wine, therefore nations are mad. She's taking that philosophy of feminism and all those things. She's pushing it into these other countries, man. A lot of these countries are trying to reject it, but Babylon the Great puts a stronghold on them. She's going to withhold, money, which anytime she gives these nations a gift, is always going to be concessions to it that they're going to have to abide by. They're going to have to start allowing the alphabet communities to be able to come out and be public, and be able to have rights and all these things, man. All these things are abomination to the Lord, but that's what Babylon is, man. She has a mouth full of abominations, man. It's totally wicked. So us Israelites is right here up under this devil, man. So you can imagine what she has really done to the minds of our people, to the psyche of our people, man. Totally destroyed, man. You talking about 4 or 5 generations that's been removed under this system, man. So, you can see the work from this devil, the byproduct. So we're going to go to Revelations 18:3. Revelations 18:3, which is going to be a precept to Jeremiah 51:7. It helps support that Revelations chapter 18, verse 3. Revelations 18:3. For all nations have drunk of the wine and wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And like I say, one thing about Babylon the Great, she's going to always give out gifts. And a lot of people come over here from these other third world countries to get rich, but when they go back home, they're taking the philosophies and drink that wine of Babylon, and they're taking it back to their nation. So all the nations have been affected by this wicked system here, man. For all nations have drunk of the wine and the wrath of her fornication, because her tentacles reach all over the globe, man. You can go to the farthest part of the east, and there you see some parts of Babylon the Great. There, her fingerprints all over the place, and especially when it's dealing in wickedness. Any place where you find any of her military bases, you're gonna find all type of abominations and things that's going on. That's even here in Babylon. Anywhere where there's a military base, mainly like a Navy base, something like that, man, you see all type of prostitution going on, all type of male prostitution, and just all type of wickedness, man. Chomos and everything, everything is usually surrounded around that. Drug use is just it usually brings a blight to that area. Anywhere where she sets up her base, her camps, man, where her fingerprints is going to be, you're going to see a lasting effect on the people surrounding that area. So we're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 32. Prophet Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 32. Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 32. Thou shalt be for fuel to the fire. Thy blood shall be in the midst of the land. Thou shalt be no more remembered, for I, the Lord, have spoken it. So, majority of our women of our nation, and the ratio is way, it's a lot more women than there are men of our nation. And majority of those that's going to be destroyed is going to be the women of our nation, man, because they've become spoiled. They've become spoiled by our oppressors, and really they're good for nothing. They're not good for childbearing. Most of them do not want to have kids. They don't want families. If they do have a family, they bust up their own families. So really they've been spoiled, man. They're no good. Something that's spoiled is no good. You pretty much have to throw it out, discard it. So the Lord is going to make them fuel for the fire, along with these other heathens that's here in Babylon the Great, man. They're going to be that great sacrifice when our Lord return, man, here on the earth. Thou shalt be fuel for the fire, thy blood shall be in the midst of the land. And that's going to be that sacrifice, man. It's like you sacrifice these animal sacrifices that we have, back in times past. But that's going to be the great sacrifice, man. The land is going to have to be cleansed through bloodshed, man. They're going to be that great sacrifice, man. That's going to cleanse the land, the wicked of our people, along with these heathen. Thou shalt be no more remembered, for I, the Lord, have spoken it. And like I said, the women of our nation, man, they proud as hell, man. Very proud, and the Lord is setting them up for destruction. Lord has got them to the point right now, you can't tell them nothing, man. Going to go to Micah chapter 7. Micah chapter 7, verse 10. Micah chapter 7, verse 10. And like I was saying, our women right now are so proud, man. They got their college degrees. Some of them making six figures. Some of them, and you ones with these college degrees, though, they proud. They got decent jobs. You got women that's, they push these women up into these higher positions. You notice now they got a lot of black women mayor, so-called black women. Israelite women mayors. Women up in the justice system, becoming judges, and put them in these high positions. And so they up over a man, and they're very proud with it. You can't tell them nothing, but you're going to tell a woman because she makes more money than you. And that's one of their objectives, because that's going to bring discord into the household, man. And they know it. They know that she's going to get high-minded, and she's going to be like, I'm not cooking, I'm not doing this, shit. I'm bringing home more money. I'm paying all the bills, And 9 times out of 10, they're not paying the bills. Jake gonna end up, the brother's gonna end up paying the bills, but it's just that, it just put our women into a position where she's condescending to her man. That's gonna bring strife into the relationship. And all these things are done by design, man. Social engineering. When I said the book of Micah, chapter 7, verse 10. Then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, Where is the Lord thy God? Mine eyes shall behold her, now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the streets. It's a lot of our women, because they being successful now, they turn their back on the Lord and on religion. Most of our women now are into shit like witchcraft, or they just all over the map right now, and so the Lord, he's going to bring shame to them, man. She's going to be in a low state. And I had a dream, it's been a while back, and in that dream is one, a young lady I used to date way back in the day. And she was in this dream, and and I was talking to her, and it was a presence behind me also, but she was bowed down, and she would not lift up her face to talk back, because she was so shamefaced. It was a very beautiful woman at the time. I haven't seen her in a while, but how most of the women in our nation, man, they look good, and they you got people out here blowing their heads up. They get to the point where they very proud, and she was so shamefaced, man. She would just stay bowed down in the prone position, as close as she can get to the ground, man. She would not lift up her head to talk, because she was so ashamed of the things that she'd done. And don't get me wrong, we all have done things in our times past, but once we come to this truth, we turn from those things that we've done, but she was very shamefaced, man. I just remember her being so prone down, so prone to the ground, and you couldn't pry her from the ground. She was just had her head down, bowed, and she was talk, very soft spoken, and not like our women today, because they talk harder than men. They look you straight in the eye, and you know, Eve talks over Jake. She talks over him, and like it's not like she can whip Jake ass, but she carries that herself that way because she has East Evil E as a backbone. That's supposed to be her protection. She can call 911 and get your ass locked up. So she takes that and uses it to as a weapon against Israelite men. And they're very proud. So a lot of women are very proud, man, because of it. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 9. Let's try to hurry to get through these. I don't want to string this lesson out too long. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 9. But it's all through the Holy Spirit, man. Rolling in the Spirit. Rise up, ye women that are at ease, hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, gathering shall not come. Tremble, ye women that are at ease, be troubled, ye careless ones. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. So it's going to be a lot of mourning, man. You see a lot of women mourning now about losing their sons, to a lot of gang violence and all that, So you see all the time. I'll constantly see our women on TV crying about their son that they done lost, or their daughter that got deleted out here, man. And there's going to be a whole lot more of that, thus said the Lord, man. It's going to be a big turn up of death, it's going to be out here in these streets. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1. Going to go to the book of Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1. This is one of my favorite scriptures too, man, and it definitely correlates to the women of our time. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. I repeat that again. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. How do our women do that? First thing they do, because who files for most of the divorces is our women. So when Jake do finally, get married to our women, I think she's like 80% of the time is going to go for she's going to file for a divorce. So she destroys her own home, man. And usually for some time, the menial things, it don't have to be a whole lot. It's a lot of times you hear our women say, well, she just need a change, or she just got bored with the relationship. It don't take much for our women to go down there and just say, I want out, and she destroys her own home. Instead of you having two people working together, building a household and rearing the children, now you just got one. So you got two households. The man got to take care of his household. She has to take care of her household, and then they both trying to provide, and then bring government to their household over those kids. So it's just she destroys her own home, man. Eve 80% of the time is the one that's going to destroy her own home. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with their own hands. They go straight to Esau courts, file for divorce, and then they want child support. So that's that foolish woman. Isaiah chapter 3, verse 12. Isaiah chapter 3, verse 12. Just got a couple more precepts to finish off. Isaiah chapter 3, verse 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy paths. Very Man, that's red hot right there. As for my people, children are the oppressors. Who's the children that are oppressors? Talking about Esau Edom, man. He's like a big child, man. You ever see the movie Home Alone? That's how Esau is right now, running loose in the world. He's destroying everything. He's fucking shit up. He's destroying families. He's destroying the food. He's destroying the water source, the air, everything this man put his hands on. He's destroying it. He's like that badass child that, you give him, you take your hands off and he can do whatever the fuck he wants to do, and all he doing is bringing death upon the earth, man. He's like that destructive ass child. You leave home, you come back, and your whole house tore up. But the Lord is coming back, man. He's going to bring him into a subjection, take him out of power. As for my people, children are their oppressors. So the children, you're talking about Esau Edom, and women rule over them. Talking about the women of our nation, and that's the thing they push. Where the women rule over our nation, man. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy past. So by him, through his unrighteous decrees, man, it's caused our people to go way off, man, to go way left. Now all of a sudden, our people is leading the way for the alphabet community. They out there pushing all these abominations and all this wickedness, man. And all these things come from following the ways of the heathen. And we're going to finish off with definitely one of my top favorite verses, man. Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, will we eat our own bread and wear our own apparel? Only let us be called by thy name and take away our reproach. And talking about our reproach, man, is because the way our women now, they become thoughts, they become whores, or they become so high-minded that you can't even talk to them, And so in that day, man, when all hell break loose, and Lord will, man, it's going to be soon. He is setting it up, He's got all these catastrophes that's happening, these viruses is going out, destroying the livestock. They're trying to get rid of food. They're trying to force our people in a desperate situation, which is going to bring about a lot of turmoil, man. Because his main thing is order out of chaos. So he's trying to create chaos out of here. There's not going to be any 911 for the women to call, man. And like Kevin Samuel said, man, winter's going to be here. We right in the middle of winter, and that's not literally, and it's not in a literal sense, but it's talking about when things are going to be bad, man. It's going to get rough out here, and there's not going to be a 911 for Eve to call, and she's going to find herself in a desperate position, and she's going to need a man to be up under. But most of our women don't have man, because what's their mantra? That feminism thing. They say we don't need a man. We can do it on our own. So we're going to see when that day comes, man. And then really, a true man of the Lord is, man, what these women are going to really be flocking to, because we're going to have spiritual powers, man. We're going to be flourishing in those times, man. If we are the elect, if the Lord is called, the Lord's going to be with us. So women's going to come, man, and say, whatever, just call us under your name, that we can be protected up under you. Because right now they don't need protection. E is their protection, man. E's the one that helped destroy their communities. Now they crying out because the kids got so goddamn bad. Everybody's in gangs now. The daughters all thotted out, and the communities is just a total mess, man. These communities been run by our women, and like I said, the title of this lesson is pretty much a job well done. Mission accomplished. And anytime that's one of their battle things. I remember when they bombed Iraq, and George Bush went over there, and after they finished, they so-called finished up the war, they said mission accomplished. And that's the same thing they're saying for our nation. Okay, we done did what we done broke them up, we destroyed their families, their communities, and like the brothers, they become passport brothers. They going out elsewhere looking for wives. So they pretty much destroyed our nation, man. And so through their agendas, man, mission has been accomplished. And with that, I'm going to close this out and say shalom and pray this lesson was edifying.